the writer of Poison Ivy, and I believe comics is literature. You're watching Sequentially Yours.
Hey there, welcome to Sequentially Yours, initially mine. This is a show where we look at this week's number ones and tell you which ones are masterpieces and which ones are pieces of something else. I gotta be honest, this week was fantastic. There are a lot of really, really good books to choose from. One that I didn't actually expect would be good turned out to be really fantastic. Since we have a decent amount of them, let's jump right in. Alright, we are going to start this week with Three Little Kittens.
Three little kittens loved to play. They had fun in the sun all day.
No, not that one. Really, not that one. Alright, so, I get it. Really, I do. I get it. It's supposed to be satire? But it lacks all subtlety or originality or even interest. I'm going to start with the good stuff. The art on it is really fantastic. I like the way that everybody moves, because there's a lot of movement in it. It's an action comic. It's about three girls who are part of a secret organization that are half superheroes, half spies. Okay, fine. But the movement is done phenomenally. I can tell where everybody's going, and I get a sense of the impact when they hit each other. It really is well drawn. Even the fact that the female forms are really, really cheesecakey and really weirdly proportioned. They're good. They're drawn well for being weirdly proportioned. I mean, a foot looks like a foot as opposed to a Liefeld thing. I mean, it's a strange foot, but it's a foot all the same. Where this book starts to fall apart is that... Okay, so I'm talking directly to the author and the artist, same person. Talking directly to you, sir. Did the big two touch you in bad places? Did they? Come here. Did a feminist yell at you? Huh? It's okay. It's okay. Okay, don't worry about it. Yes, I know. They're mean. They told you that you can't draw things to masturbate to and then expect them to be published. Yes, I know. It must be so hard to not have your fantasies immediately published by large companies. Yes, I know, but that doesn't mean that those companies are not giving fans what they want. There are lots of fans out there. A lot of them are fans of Miss Marvel and not fans of your personal masturbation fantasies. I know, it's hard to believe, but it's true. It's so true. And just because you can put a straw feminist into your book does not mean that you've made some sort of hit. It's not at school. You didn't win anything. There's nothing to win. Okay. It's okay. You're gonna be okay. Alright, so you better now? You better? Okay, so maybe next time, don't make it so ludicrously obvious what you're trying to say and who hurt you. Sorry they hurt you. Okay. One thing I will say about this book, though, on the positive end again, is it obeys the rules of number ones really, really well. It introduces our characters, it has a team of three, so it shows us what each character's specialty is, and lets us know kind of what their capabilities are. It gives us an idea of what this world is like, what we're dealing with. It gives us a bad guy who they don't directly fight, but interferes in what they're doing, who then escapes, so they have to deal with them later. It actually tells a really good story to start a series on. And I gotta give the writer-artist credit on that. You did good in pacing, in style. in writing a story that keeps me hooked for a number 2 if it weren't for the fact that you had to spend a lot of time telling us how mean everybody was to you. Maybe next time, if you're going to do that, then try not to be so obvious about it. Try to think around corners a bit. Try not to do the thing that I expect. For example, there's a fight sequence with one of the characters who has, claws and claws. Well, I of course knew that during the course of this fight sequence, the guy that she was fighting was going to have his pants ripped off. And he did. And oh, wow, what a shock. He's wearing pink underwear with mice on them for some reason. And no Y-fronts. And the, brief style. So, yeah, in a book ostensibly about powerful kick-ass women, you also need to point out that the bad guy is kind of feminine himself and therefore bad. Come on. You're undercutting your ideas. The main characters, again, this is one of those, you are clearly talking about the people who hurt you. Because the main bad guys in this are holding up a game store because of violent video games, so it's violence against violence type thing. It's stupid, but it's supposed to be stupid because you're creating straw men to fight. But then, we later find out that, no, they weren't there because of violence in video games, they were there because the Three Little Kittens video game was too hard for them. Come on. If you're going to make a point, then make a point about real people and real things. I mean, it doesn't have to involve real people or real things, but again, knocking down straw men doesn't impress anybody. Otherwise, it follows the rules of number 1, so well done there.
This is literature?
Either way, bye. Alright, next. Bill and Ted Save the Universe. Alright, I'm not gonna lie. I am a huge Bill and Ted fan. One of the first movies I ever remember watching was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. My father rented it. I watched it so many times. We eventually bought it. I watched it so many times that I knew all of the ads beforehand. Kelly McGillis and Winter People, by the way, was one of them. There was also an ad at the beginning for a thing featuring Missy. It was a contest that they were doing, and you could win a Vision skateboard because those featured in the movie, and it was... I remember all of it. I know it word for word. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. I saw that in the theaters twice. It wasn't even that good. And I suspect it's better than it probably was at the time, and I'll like it more. But either way, I love Bill and Ted. So, yeah, I love this book too, I'm not gonna lie. It's not probably as good as Bill and Ted's Most Triumphant Return, but it has its moments. One thing that I do particularly like about it is that the jokes hit really well most of the time. They've been really good at keeping the Bill and Ted mythos and the Bill and Ted style consistent, while also advancing the world and advancing the plot. We know that Bill and Ted will one day bring peace and order to the universe, but we get to see sort of the steps that takes along the way, and it's not always easy. One thing I particularly like about this is that it brings in a lot of the old characters, but they don't overstay their welcome, and again, in some cases, they actually advance a little bit. Particularly Deacon. He's here from law school for Bill and Ted's anniversary of, I believe, passing the history exam, which put them on the path to where they're supposed to be. And he's really resentful of his brother, who really does seem like he walks through life succeeding without ever really having to try. Now, part of that is time travel, but part of that is also that, yeah, Ted Theodore Logan leads a charmed life. So does Bill S. Preston Esquire. And if I were Deacon, I can understand feeling hurt that I have to try so very hard to get half as far as my idiot brother who does nothing but play guitar. That being said, though, This book had a lot of interesting twists and turns to it, particularly by having returning characters actually exhibit some character and do something that was not necessarily expected. The twist at the end really took me by surprise, and it was one of those, oh yeah, that is something that hasn't been covered before. I'm kind of looking forward to see what happens next. I'm probably going to add this to my pull list just because A, Bill and Ted, but B, a good Bill and Ted story. If there's a downside to this, I would say that the downside is that they recycle a couple of jokes from the movies or from the comics previous, and I don't think they have to. They could have come up with something new or done a different take on the same joke. Other than that, though, yeah, if you like Bill and Ted, you're going to like this comic. If you don't like Bill and Ted, you're going to hate it because it's Bill and Ted through and through. Alright, what's next? Next, Sword Quest. This one took me by surprise. It is a book based on an Atari game. Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. Book based on an Atari game. But, and here's the thing, it's good. The basic premise behind it is that you have this sword that was supposed to be a prop from the Sword Quest game that was given out in a giveaway, but they never actually gave it out. Many, many years later, it's in a video game museum. Yes, they have those. And one of the characters wants to steal it, and he gets a hold of his childhood friends to help him do it, one of which just published a book on video games, particularly ones from that era. You know what? What works about this is that it's not about the heist, at least not yet. It's about these characters. It spends most of its time building up these characters, who they are, what they want. I don't want to spoil too much of this, and normally, again, I've said this before, I'll say it again, I normally don't care much about spoilers, but this book, the way that it is told and the pace at which things are revealed is so important to the sort of emotional gut punch that you get out of it. I don't want to ruin that for anybody. So I'm just going to say that you should probably just read this. I know, it sounds really dumb. I'm not going to lie to you. It sounds dumb. But it's really about a guy who is coming to terms with his own adulthood, and it avoids the lazy cliches of just making him a sad geek boy who never grew up and is obsessed with collectibles. He's not. His friends are not enablers, nor are they immediately shooting him down. Everybody feels real. Everybody feels alive. The book likes to use background words or words in the frame in order to help tell the story. And I love that. It's a clever use of the framing and of the comic medium in general. What can I say? Sword Quest is highly recommended. I don't want to get too far into it because I don't want to ruin anything, but go read it. It'll be worth your time. Okay. Next, we're looking at XFiles Origins, Dog Days of Summer. First, credit for not just shortening it to Dog Days like everybody else does. I mean, it's a common term that is used fairly frequently to title comic books, but at least they use the whole thing. X-Files Origins has no reason why it should work, and yet it does. Because, let's face it, Teen Fox Mulder and Teen Dana Scully sounds conceptually interesting, but when you think about it in the larger mythology, if these two have been involved in conspiracies their whole lives, then their work on the X-Files is less amazing, less wondrous, less frightening. And that's largely what we have here, is we have these two teenagers who are involved in conspiracies, even though they're teenagers. But let's forget that for now. Let's ignore that aspect of it and just look at it from the comic perspective. And yeah, I buy it from a comic perspective. These kids are interesting kids. They're believable kids. They have foibles and they have personalities that are separate from themselves, but I can also see developing into the Fox Mulder and Dana Scully that we know. Moreover, I think that they're able to explore things with these characters that they couldn't explore in the show, and as a result, we have some kind of fascinating people to work with. For example, one of the personality traits of Dana Scully in the show that I always thought was interesting was that despite being a skeptic in all other things, she's also a devout Catholic. And we never see her really doubt that in the course of the show. Her Catholicism is sort of a bedrock belief that she keeps coming back to. But the book allows her to see terrible things happening and doubt the existence of a loving God. That makes sense to me. That seems like something a teenager would do. And one who would eventually come back to the church because that's something that they feel that they can eventually, reconcile. It works. It all works really well. Again, as part of a larger thing, I can see them growing into the characters we know, but I can't see them being a part of this world and then being shocked and amazed by the things that we see in the show. Is it worth a read? Probably. If you're really into X-Files, it's up in the air. Either you're gonna really like it because it's more X-Files, and again, I can believe these characters are younger versions of the characters we know, or you're gonna hate it because it makes no sense and is basically non-canonical. Okay, moving on. Okay, so this one sounded ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie, this sounded absolutely out there, and I thought it was going to be some stupid vanity thing, quite frankly, like Three Little Kittens. But you know what? Shirtless Bear Fighter is really good. Not gonna lie to you. It is dumb. It is absolutely dumb. It is ridiculous and over the top, but you know what? This is satire done right and done well. The targets of it are the tropes that we're familiar with. Essentially, bears in this are nigh on invincible creatures, and they start attacking the city, and they have to convince the shirtless bear fighter to come out of retirement since he's been wandering around the woods naked his entire life. Except for certain times that we're not quite sure the timeline is purposely screwed up, and so much so that they hang a lampshade on it. And he'll do it in exchange for a lifetime supply of flapjacks. Lost the lights. Yeah, we're gonna fix that soon, but if you want to help with that, you can donate to our Patreon by clicking the link up above, or in the doobly-doo in the bottom. That would really, really help right now. But, that being said, we're gonna keep going. Alright, so, Shirtless Bear Fighter. What was I saying? Oh, yes. It has a point of view character, but that point of view character is there to essentially point out the ridiculousness of what's going on. And you know what? That just makes it fun here. It's just hilarious to have that one person who seems to know what's going on and everybody else buys into the guy who has a cabin in the woods made of bearskins. He also has a fighter jet made of bearskins. Yeah, oh, I almost said the P word for flapjacks, and apparently you don't do that. That's what was happening before when we lost the light. Anyway, yeah, this is just insane. A dude German suplexes a bear, and it's wonderful. Here, let me give you a sample of kind of what this is like. Alright, you and me, we've got to have a little talk. I'm the shirtless pig fighter, and you're a shirtless pig. You know what, shirtless pig? I don't like your kind around here. You mess it all up. You cause problems. You have glowing pink eyes. It's bad, okay? I'm not just needlessly prejudiced. Got a tragic backstory. One that involves shirtless pigs like you! The point is that you're a shirtless pig and you can't stay here. One of us has to be shirtless, it's you, and that's not gonna be allowed, okay? Don't sass me! Don't you dare sass me!
Pig punch!
Whew. So, yeah. That was a lot easier than I thought it would be. Should probably find a new career. Okay, now imagine I'm like 1,000 times cooler than that, and that's shirtless bear fighter. Oh yeah, and bears. And he's the shirtless one, not the bears are shirtless too. Although one of them was wearing a pearl necklace at one point. Yeah, shirtless bear fighter is fantastic, guys. I can't say how much I love it. If it weren't for this week's number one, then I absolutely would have chosen this as the number one. I was laughing really, really hard throughout this. If you want a good comedy book, Shirtless Bear Fighter. But every week does need a number one. And, you know, I'm not even going to draw this out as Crosswind. I'd like to surprise you guys. I'd like to be like, oh, I don't know. Gail Simone did okay, and Cat Stag did okay, but it was not quite up to snuff. No, it was up to snuff. It was brilliant. I had originally heard that one of the people in this body-switching drama was supposed to be a serial killer. He's not. He's a mob enforcer, which I think makes much better. A serial killer, A, they're overdone. B, there's only so much that you can do with that, and then it becomes a race against time. Serial killers don't care. Mob enforcers care. This guy had a life and a love. And that's probably the strongest aspect of this, is that both of these characters are believable right off the bat. We are immediately given 3 dimensions of them, so that when their lives switch, we see what is potentially being lost here and what is being gained as well by each of them. Everything that happens to June rings true. I mean, rings really, really true. I believe that this is the life that she leads. I believe that this is the behaviors that she's adopted to try to get through that life as unscathed as possible. Similarly, Casey? What's his name? Kaysen. Similarly, Kaysen seems like he is working very hard to be a person, but also to avoid having too much humanity, because then it hurts. He doesn't want to hurt anymore. But that's what he has to do. It's an amazing exploration of human behavior and human beings. It's a great step for Simone right after Clean Room, and Cat Stag's just, her art contributes so well to this. Lines that are all very straight and almost clawing in certain places, like it's trying to get out of the page in the same way that these people are trying to get out of their lives. It's such a wonderful way of presenting everything in the visual medium. I love at one point where it starts flipping back and forth between them page by page, so that we're getting these great intercuts of their lives and juxtaposing them so well, seeing the differences and the similarities. I was blown away by Crosswind this week. I can't wait to see where it goes. It ended where I think it needed to end for this week. Just enough to keep us going, but it also spent its entire time giving us these characters' backstory without it ever seeming to be bogged down or to drag at any particular moment. When you're talking about genius like Simone and like Stags, you start to expect it. And again, nobody watching this show, I think, right now didn't expect this to be this week's #1. But I am really glad it is. And I cannot wait for the next Crosswind. All right. So all that's left is the oddly incongruous theme. This week's oddly incongruous theme is identity reveals. Yeah, at one point in all of these books, we find out that somebody is not who we thought they were, or not who the characters thought they were, or didn't expect to see. It's kind of a strange thing that was in all of them, particularly Shirtless Bear Hunter. But, yeah, that's what it was. Alright. Well, that wraps up this week. Can't wait to see you guys next week for a whole new batch of #1s. Keep loving comics. I don't know what your opinions are going to be, but these were initially mine. Take care.
I know what you're thinking.
How do I help Kara build a state-of-the-art video production kit for advanced crime editing?
Well, fear not. You can make that dream come true by donating only $1 or $2 to our Patreon, which will also make you eligible for fabulous prizes. If you can't contribute financially, please consider liking this video, subscribing, and especially sharing with your friends. It costs you nothing and goes a long way toward helping the channel grow, reaching new people who, like you, think that comics are literature. Thank you.